Sophia Bennett never imagined that a simple trip to New York for a health check could end up shaking her entire life. On that Monday morning, Grand Central Station was a sea of people. The loudspeaker echoed train calls, hurried footsteps clattered on the tiles, and suitcase wheels hummed across the floor, a restless symphony of the city. She gripped the strap of her backpack and drew in a deep breath as she stepped off the train from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm really here. This isn't a dream. Her long dark hair brushed her shoulders, and her gray-blue eyes shimmered with a strange blend of worry and wonder. Sophia had never lived away from her family. At 25, the youngest of three, she was used to warm family dinners, her father's stories, her mother's laughter filling their riverside home. Now, surrounded by strangers, a sudden hollowness rose in her chest. She whispered to herself, "Just 6 months. Think of it as a test. You'll be fine." But the truth was, for months she had been battling sharp abdominal pain that left her drained, sitting before her easel unable to finish a single painting. Doctors back home shook their heads, unable to give clear answers. One of her professors urged her to try a leading women's health center in New York. And so, here she was, a young artist carrying a fragile hope for relief after months of exhaustion. Brooklyn greeted her with honking horns, the scent of hot pizza wafting from a corner shop, and the biting chill of late winter. The studio she rented online was in an older but tidy building. The doorman, Mr. Harris, silver-haired yet brisk, opened the door with a welcoming smile. "You must be Sophia, right? Apartment 3B. Welcome to Brooklyn. If you need anything, just let me know." Sophia returned a small smile, nodding. "Thank you. I really needed a warm welcome today." The studio was modest but cozy. A single bed against the wall, a neat little kitchen, a work desk by the window. She pushed the window open, letting the cold air rush in with the city's restless hum. Sitting down on the bed, hugging her backpack tight, Sophia whispered, "Tomorrow. It's just a doctor's appointment. So why does my heart feel like it's racing already?" She didn't know it yet, but this was more than an appointment. It was the quiet threshold of a chapter she had never imagined. The next morning, New York was wrapped in a gray chill. Sophia pulled on a cream-colored sweater, dark jeans, and a light scarf. She checked her reflection in the mirror, drew in a breath. "It's just an appointment. Nothing to fear. You've got this." The Women's Wellness Center on Madison Avenue rose tall, its glass walls mirroring the pale sky. Sophia paused at the entrance, gripping her bag strap. "All right, this is where it begins." Inside, the lobby gleamed with polished floors and tidy green plants. The receptionist typed quickly, then looked up. "Good morning, your name?" "Sophia Bennett. I have an appointment with Dr. Hayes at 10:30. "Yes, you're on the list. Please have a seat." She chose a chair near the window overlooking a quiet courtyard. The ticking clock made her heartbeat race faster. 10:35, 10:41. Each minute dragged. Finally, a nurse with a gentle smile called her name. Sophia Bennett. Sophia stood quickly, following the woman down a long hall to a bright, quiet examination room. "The doctor will be right in. Please change into this gown," the nurse said. Behind the screen, Sophia slipped into the gown, her heart pounding. "I've faced exhibitions with hundreds of eyes on me, so why am I trembling now?" The door opened. A man entered with calm assurance. Medium height, dark brown hair neatly combed, sharp green eyes behind thin glasses. "Good morning, Miss Bennett." His voice was deep yet warm. "I'm Dr. Adrian Hayes." "Good morning, doctor," Sophia replied, forcing a smile. Please call me Sophia. He nodded, opening her digital file. From Charleston, South Carolina, referred by Professor Miller. You're pursuing a master's in fine arts, correct? Sophia blinked, surprised. Yes. I didn't think you'd remember details like that. Professor Miller is someone I respect deeply. She described you as a very dedicated student. The way he said you made her cheeks warm, though his tone stayed strictly professional. Could you walk me through your symptoms again? I see abdominal pain, fatigue, irregular cycles. Sophia explained everything. The pain, the exhaustion, the unfinished paintings. Adrian listened intently, asking brief questions, jotting careful notes. Thank you for sharing, he said once she finished. We'll start with some basic exams. Nurse Linda will assist. There's no need to be anxious. I'll explain each step. Seeing the tension in her eyes, he added softly, If you ever feel uncomfortable, just let me know. We'll go at your pace. Throughout the exam, Adrian kept his word. He announced each step, his steady voice easing the heavy silence. Sophia stared at the ceiling, cheeks burning, but oddly safe. When it ended, the nurse helped her dress. Adrian returned, handing her test forms. Try to complete these soon. I'd like to see you back in 2 weeks. As she took the papers, her fingers brushed his. Just a flicker, but it made them both pause. Sophia lowered her gaze quickly, hiding the flush creeping up. Thank you, doctor, she murmured. Adrian, he corrected gently, if you're comfortable with that. He walked her to the door. A simple gesture, yet Sophia sensed he didn't do it for everyone. Outside, her pulse still ran uneven. What just happened in there? 2 weeks later, New York welcomed Sophia with a mist of rain. Droplets slid down the bus window, streaking like scattered thoughts she couldn't gather. In her hands was the folder of test results, but her eyes were fixed outside. What's the worst it could be? The thing I fear most. Will I hear it today? She arrived at the center 15 minutes early. Her palms were damp as she waited. When the nurse called her name, Sophia rose, her legs heavy as stone. The exam room was bright and quiet, just like before. Adrian stood by the window, reading from a tablet. When the door opened, he turned, offering a gentle smile. Good to see you again, Sophia. Please have a seat. Sophia managed a nod, though her pulse quickened. Adrian pulled the screen toward her. I've reviewed all your results. There's something I need to discuss with you today. Her throat tightened. Her hands clenched. Based on your ultrasound, hormone tests, and the symptoms you described, I believe you have a condition called endometriosis. The words landed like a stone in her chest. She had suspected, read about it, but hearing it confirmed made her breath falter. Endometriosis. That means... Adrian nodded, explaining slowly and clearly. It's when tissue similar to the uterine lining grows outside the uterus, often on the ovaries, fallopian tubes, or pelvic walls. It causes pain, irregular cycles, and sometimes affects fertility. Sophia lowered her gaze, whispering, I was hoping it wouldn't be that. He leaned forward, his eyes steady yet filled with empathy. I understand. Many feel shocked or discouraged when they hear this, but the important thing is that now we know, and we can act. Sophia bit her lip, inhaling deeply. At least, I'm no longer lost in the dark. Adrian opened another file. There are several options. First, I'd recommend hormonal therapy, medications to regulate estrogen and slow the growth of misplaced tissue. If symptoms don't improve after a few months, We may consider surgery." Sophia listened intently, then asked, "Will the medication affect my mood or energy?" "It might," Adrian admitted. "Some people feel fatigue or mood changes at first, but most adjust over time. What matters is that you monitor yourself and communicate, with me or with any physician you choose." She let out a weary smile. "So, the road ahead won't be easy." "It won't," Adrian smiled back, "but you won't walk it alone." The room grew quiet. No longer doctor and patient, but two people sharing a fragile truth. Sophia's voice softened. "Thank you for not treating me like just another case." "Because you're not just a case," Adrian replied gently. "You're someone facing something real, and I respect your courage." Sophia looked down, hiding the tremble in her smile. When he printed the prescription and arranged the follow-up, they both rose. Their fingers brushed as he handed her the papers, and this time, neither pulled away immediately. "Reach out anytime you need," Adrian said. "I will. I promise." As Sophia left the room, the rain still tapped against the glass, but something inside her had shifted. Not only had her illness been named, something else had begun quietly, in the warmth of a man's gaze. In the days following her follow-up appointment, Sophia began slipping into a new rhythm. The tiny Brooklyn apartment, once strange, now felt like a refuge. Each morning, the blare of horns rose from the street, and the aroma of coffee drifted in from the corner cafe. She was learning to fend for herself. Trips to the market with heavy bags, simple meals of pasta with roasted vegetables or warm chicken soup. On the desk by the window, a small notebook grew crowded with entries: pill times, side effects, pain levels each day. One evening, mid-note, her pen stalled. The desk lamp cast shadows on her tired face, and in the mirror, she caught the circles beneath her eyes. "I'm turning into a researcher of my own body, maybe because I'm terrified of losing control." Her phone buzzed. The name on the screen made her smile. Lena. Her friend's voice was bright. "Sophia, how are you surviving this crazy city?" Sophia laughed. "Barely intact. Every day feels like a pop quiz. Let's meet this weekend. There's a little park near me. Fresh air will do us good." That Saturday, they sat on a wooden bench in a small park. The breeze stirred branches above. Children's laughter carried through the air. Lena studied her, then tilted her head. "You look different, Sophia." "Different how?" "Not sick different. More like fluttery heart different." Sophia flushed, laughing. "You've been reading too many romance novels." "Maybe. But who pores over every clinical study about their condition for fun, unless someone's inspiring them?" Sophia stayed silent, eyes lifting toward the gray clouds drifting slowly. "Maybe Lena isn't wrong. Why does Adrian's green gaze keep surfacing in my mind? Why do his words echo like they belong to me?" That night, Sophia set her easel in the middle of the room. She opened her paints, hand trembling slightly. On the blank canvas emerged a window, soft light spilling through, and a faint silhouette by its frame. She stopped, exhaling. "What am I painting? Is that him?" Her phone buzzed. Sophia wiped her hands, picked it up. Not Lena, not family. A short message from a saved contact. Adrian Hayes. "Hello, Sophia, just checking in. Any serious side effects from the medication?" Her heart skipped. Fingers moved quickly. "A little nausea, but manageable. I'm tracking it closely." The screen lit up again almost instantly. This time, a call. "You reply fast?" His voice warmer over the line. "I was in the kitchen. My phone was right there." Sophia chuckled softly. "I'm glad. Nausea usually fades after a few weeks. If not, we'll reassess. Thank you. I'll keep notes. A pause, quiet but charged. Then Adrian's voice lowered slightly. There's a women's health symposium this weekend at Mount Sinai. I have a guest pass. Would you like to come? I think you'd find it interesting. Sophia froze for a moment. She knew it could be purely professional, and yet her chest fluttered. I would love to, she whispered. Good. Saturday, 8:30 a.m., main lobby, I'll be there. When the call ended, Sophia stayed still in the kitchen. The pot on the stove boiled furiously, steam fogging the small mirror on the wall. But inside her, everything felt clearer. Something was changing, not just in her body, but in her heart. Saturday morning brought a rare, clear sky to New York. Sophia wore a navy blue suit borrowed from Lena, her hair pulled into a low bun, a touch of lipstick softening her pale face. She glanced in the mirror, whispering, "It's just a symposium. Don't overthink it, Sophia." Yet her heartbeat thudded fast and heavy. The grand lobby of Mount Sinai Hospital glowed under bright lights, banners lining the walls. Women's Health Symposium 20XX. Sophia paused for a moment, adjusting her breath, fingers tightening on her bag strap. Across the room, Adrian stood by the information desk, 2 guest passes in hand. When his eyes found hers, a small smile eased the tension inside her. Good morning, Sophia. I'm glad you came. Thank you for inviting me. I've been looking forward to it. He handed her a badge, and together they entered the auditorium. Nearly every seat was taken, but Adrian had reserved 2 in the 3rd row, close enough to see clearly, but not too exposed. The presentation began. A renowned professor introduced new approaches to treating endometriosis. Sophia listened intently, jotting notes, occasionally lifting her head at striking details. Yet she noticed Adrian's gaze flick toward her now and then. Not intrusive, but quiet, observant. The way she furrowed her brow in thought, the slight tilt of her head when intrigued. Her heart fluttered in response. During the break, Adrian led her to the coffee lounge. The aroma of fresh brew mingled with lively chatter. Several colleagues approached with warm greetings. Adrian introduced her. This is Sophia Bennett, a master's student in fine arts, dedicated and sharp. Heat rose in her cheeks. An older doctor chuckled. Careful, Adrian. In a few years, she might be the one presenting here. Laughter rippled around them. Sophia smiled shyly. Then a well-dressed woman in her 50s tilted her head. And what about Catherine? Still in Paris? The name fell like a stone. Catherine. Sophia froze, her chest tightening. She glanced at Adrian. For a flicker, something crossed his face. Then he steadied. That ended last year. She's no longer there. The woman nodded and moved on. Conversation resumed. Laughter flowed. But inside Sophia, unease swelled. Catherine. Who is she? An ex? A fiancé? Why hadn't he ever mentioned her? She kept her polite smile, though her thoughts churned. Back in the auditorium, she continued taking notes, but her focus had fractured. The words blurred on the page, replaced by questions spinning endlessly. When the symposium ended, Adrian turned to her. There's a little cafe nearby. Would you like to have lunch? Sophia nodded, but the name Catherine burned quietly in her chest. I need to ask. I need to know the truth. The cafe was tucked into a quiet Upper West Side street. Warm yellow lights cast a glow on exposed brick walls, wrapping the space in unexpected comfort. Sophia arrived early, choosing a corner table. She turned a hot teacup in her hands, warmth spreading but her fingers still trembling. I have to ask. If I don't, I'll drown in doubt. When the door opened, Adrian walked in. A light gray shirt, a simple jacket. He looked ordinary, yet her heartbeat raced. "Are you all right?" he asked, sitting across from her, eyes searching. "I'm fine. Thank you for coming." She inhaled deeply, steadying her voice. "At the symposium, someone mentioned Catherine. I want to know. Who was she?" Adrian fell silent for a few moments. No deflection, no denial. He met her eyes. "Catherine was my girlfriend. We were together nearly 3 years. When I accepted a research post in Europe, we planned to move together. But months before, things shifted. She chose a different path. We broke up." Sophia bit her lip. "And the photo? In the article?" "Probably an old one. Medical press tends to recycle images. I didn't tell you because I thought it no longer mattered. But perhaps I was wrong. You deserve to know." Sophia lowered her gaze, voice soft. "I just don't want to be anyone's shadow." Adrian leaned forward, tone firm yet gentle. "You were never a shadow, Sophia. You've always been your own light." A quiet pause settled over the table. Not awkward, honest. Then Adrian drew a breath, tension flickering in his eyes. "There's something else I need to tell you, and maybe now is the right time." Sophia looked up, her heart stumbling. "I've transferred your case to a female colleague, highly skilled, compassionate. Starting next week, she'll be your doctor." "What?" she whispered. "Because I can't keep treating you when my feelings have crossed the professional line. You are a patient, yes, but you are also someone I care about. And if there's even the possibility of exploring that, I cannot do it as your physician." Her chest tightened. She had half expected it, yet hearing it aloud still sent her pulse into chaos. In his eyes, there was no possession, no hesitation, only respect. A choice to place integrity above desire. "I understand," Sophia whispered, her voice unsteady. Adrian gave a weary but genuine smile. "I don't expect anything from you. I just want you to know. What I feel is real." Outside, rain began to fall softly, droplets tapping against the glass like someone's heartbeat. Sophia turned toward the window, then back to him, nodding faintly. No promises, no decisions yet. Only the quiet acknowledgement that something had shifted, gently but irrevocably. 3 weeks had passed since their cafe conversation. New York remained loud, streets bustling, but inside Sophia, everything felt hushed. Each day she still went to class, worked on art projects, noted her body's response to medication. The tiny Brooklyn apartment had grown familiar, wind whistling through the window frame, footsteps echoing down the hall, the smell of toasted bread rising from the bakery downstairs. Together, they shaped a steady rhythm, yet inside her, a quiet emptiness lingered. At night, after assignments were done, Sophia often sat by the window, watching the streetlights flicker. Sometimes she unlocked her phone, hovered over the name Adrian Hayes. Her finger grazed the screen, then froze. "No, I can't." He was clear. Distance is the right thing. In class, Lena noticed her friend drifting off at times. "Sophia, are you okay?" "Yeah, just a little tired. The meds drained me a bit." Lena didn't press further, though her eyes left a silent question hanging. Sophia buried herself in painting. Her canvases darkened with grays, brushstrokes swirling like echoes of questions unanswered. Sometimes a figure appeared, standing by a window, blurred, faceless. Meanwhile, at the wellness center, Adrian was equally consumed by work. Patients, lectures, research reports. Yet at times, in the stillness of evening, His gaze would fall on a notebook left on his desk, the one Sophia had used to track her symptoms during an exam. He kept it, intending to return it, but hadn't. I miss her, but silence is the only way to keep this clean. Neither sent messages, neither made calls, not out of anger nor neglect, but because both knew distance, for now, was respect. One night, Sophia whispered softly at the foggy sky beyond her window, "Do you think of me the way I think of you?" The question drifted into the air, unanswered. But somewhere, in a late-night office, Adrian sat still, eyes unfocused, letting quiet longing seep gently into his heart. One April morning, Sophia's inbox lit up with a subject line that nearly made her drop her coffee. "Congratulations, you have been selected for the Barcelona art internship program." She read it 3 times. 6 months in Europe, at a prestigious art institute. It was the dream she had applied for and nearly forgotten, thinking the odds were slim. Now, it was real. That evening, as she was tidying up after her library shift, her phone buzzed. The name on the screen made her heart lurch. Adrian Hayes. "Hello, Sophia." His voice came, low and familiar. "I just received some news. I've been invited to Barcelona for a 6-month research fellowship on endometriosis starting later this spring. Seems we're headed in the same direction." Sophia froze. She gripped the phone tightly, whispering, "I just got an email too. An art internship. 6 months in Barcelona." Silence for a beat. Then Adrian laughed. A soft, genuine sound, like spring air dissolving weeks of silence. "Maybe it's finally time we stop keeping our distance." The next day they met at Riverside Park. Cherry blossoms bloomed, pink petals scattering on the wind, landing on their shoulders and hair. Sophia sat on a wooden bench, her heart fluttering as Adrian approached. No white coat, no sterile walls, just a man in a light jacket. "Hello, Sophia," he said quietly, taking a seat beside her. "Hello, Adrian." Her reply was soft, but steady. For a few moments, they listened to the Hudson River's distant rhythm. Then Sophia spoke. "I once thought I came to New York only to fix my health, but it turns out everything changed the day I met you." Adrian turned, his green eyes reflecting the fading sky. "And I changed too, from a man who lived only for work to someone afraid of losing something fragile, yet real." Sophia smiled faintly, her eyes bright. "Do you ever feel this is like a painting? Unexpected strokes, sometimes clumsy, but in the end, they form something meaningful." "I do," Adrian answered, voice warm. "And I think we're still in the sketch. The rest, Barcelona will complete." In that moment, words weren't needed. They sat side by side, petals circling the bench, spring wind brushing past. No longer doctor and patient, no boundaries, just 2 people, acknowledging that something had taken root. On the bus ride home, Sophia leaned her cheek against the glass, golden light spilling across the river. "For the first time in months, I feel calm, and I know I'm not alone anymore." In his office, Adrian stared at the confirmation email from the Barcelona Institute. He had always made decisions with his mind, but this time, a voice inside whispered, "Choose with your heart." Barcelona, it wasn't only a career opportunity, it was a beginning. JFK Airport was packed that morning. Crowds surged like an endless tide. Suitcases rattled, announcements echoed constantly. Yet for Sophia, the world narrowed to one point. Adrian, standing at the far end of the hall, his eyes fixed on her. She walked toward him, her smile steady but her chest trembling. Adrian wore a slate blue coat, hands in his pockets, gaze warm but tinged with sadness. "You're here," Sophia whispered, breath uneven. "Of course. I couldn't let you leave without saying goodbye." They found a quiet corner near the gate. Beyond the glass, planes rolled and roared into the sky. Time felt shorter, each minute heavy with meaning. Sophia gripped her backpack strap. "I thought I'd be afraid of going so far. But now, I feel more relieved than worried." Adrian's voice was low. "Because this time, you know you're not alone." Then, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, deep blue velvet box. He opened it to reveal a delicate silver necklace, its pendant a tiny star gleaming under the harsh airport lights. Sophia's eyes widened. "Adrian, so you'll remember that even in the darkest moments, there's light. And for me, Sophia, that light has been you." His voice was barely above a whisper, yet each word etched itself into her heart. Tears welled in her eyes as she touched the little star. "Thank you. I'll treasure it. And I won't forget. You believed in me, even before I believed in myself." The loudspeaker called her flight to Barcelona. Sophia inhaled deeply. The moment to step away had come. She turned back, her gaze clinging to his. "Adrian, I don't know what the future holds, but I know this. Everything began in New York, and now Barcelona will be the next chapter." He nodded, eyes bright and quiet. "Let Barcelona write the rest, Sophia. And no matter the distance, I'll always be with you." She entered the boarding line, her feet heavy. Each step stretched endlessly. But when she glanced back, he was still there. One hand raised in a quiet wave, his eyes never leaving her. Sophia tightened her grip on her backpack strap, her trembling lips curving into a smile. She knew she wasn't walking away alone. The plane lifted off the runway, shuddered gently, then soared into the sky. Sophia pressed her cheek against the window, watching the skyscrapers shrink below into fading geometry. Her fingers touched the silver necklace at her throat. The tiny star sparkled, catching the morning sun. In that instant, memories returned in a slow reel. Stepping into Grand Central Station, the little studio in Brooklyn, the rainy afternoon of her diagnosis, the cherry blossoms at Riverside Park, and the bittersweet goodbye at JFK. I've changed. I'm no longer the girl who trembled with fear. I'm stepping forward now, with a heart that believes, that hopes. She recalled Adrian's words. Let Barcelona write the rest. A faint smile curved her lips. There were no lifelong promises, no heavy bindings. Yet she knew the path ahead would not be walked alone. The plane pierced through clouds, sky stretching wide and endless. Sophia closed her eyes, listening to the steady rhythm of her own heart. Calm, certain. Barcelona, it wasn't just an internship. It was the beginning of a new journey. One she would walk not out of fear, but out of the desire to live fully. And somewhere deep inside, she believed that green gaze would find hers again, in a faraway city, waiting with promise. Barcelona welcomed Sophia with golden sunlight stretching across stone-paved streets, the strum of guitars echoing through plazas, and the aroma of fresh coffee drifting from corner cafes. 6 months passed in a blur. She had attended countless art classes, painted dozens of canvases, and most importantly, rediscovered her own strength. The pain hadn't vanished completely, but Sophia had learned to listen to her body, to pause when needed, to push forward when she could. Each brushstroke now flowed not from fear, but from faith. One late summer afternoon, at a group exhibition, Sophia stood before her painting, Riverside Park. cherry blossoms falling over two figures seated side by side. Visitors lingered, whispering softly. Sophia smiled, but inside a question stirred. "Are you somewhere in this city too?" The answer came that very evening. As she stepped out of the gallery, her heart stumbled. Adrian stood at the end of the hall, the same simple coat, the same steady green eyes. "Adrian," her voice trembled. "Forgive the surprise," he said with a warm smile. "And I've been here for the fellowship these past weeks. The Institute asked me to present our interim findings at a conference on campus, and I couldn't miss the chance to see you again." They closed the distance between them, as if it had never existed. Sophia's vision blurred with tears, but her smile held. "I thought maybe we'd never meet again." "And I," Adrian replied softly, "always believed our paths would cross once more. And here I am." They left the gallery together, walking under golden streetlights. Music floated in the air. The scent of grilled seafood carried on the breeze. Words were unnecessary. Simply walking side by side filled the emptiness of months apart. At Barcelona beach, they stopped, watching waves break against the shore. The salty wind tangled in their hair. Distant lights shimmered on the water. Sophia turned, whispering, "Adrian, I'm afraid if we begin, we'll be forced apart again." He looked at her for a long moment, then shook his head gently. "No one knows the future. But if we let fear decide, we'll never truly live. I don't want to lose this chance. The chance to be with you, not as doctor and patient, but simply as Adrian and Sophia." Her eyes glistened. Slowly she nodded, loosening the invisible tether that had bound her heart. They stood together for a long time. No promises, no grand declarations, only the quiet truth that their journey had brought them here, and from now on, they would walk forward together. A seagull swept across the night sky. Sophia whispered with a radiant smile, "Maybe this is the real beginning." Adrian took her hand, steady and warm, and in that moment, they both knew. Barcelona was not just a destination. It was where their story found its answer.